Okay, so the next, after talking with your supervisor, then this is when you need to decide. After reflecting, talking with your supervisor, you could decide to go two ways, deciding to stay or deciding to go. So if you have talked with your supervisor and came up with some solutions to your concerns, it may improve your work situation. Going forward, it might be helpful to determine what issues are deal breakers. What a deal breaker is, things that you will not tolerate. And when you need to revisit concerns with your supervisor. So, deal breakers are things like not getting paid for what you're doing, people not treating you with respect. Like maybe if people are name calling or treating you terrible or things like that. Like those are reasons to leave could be deal breakers. And then you need to determine, like, you've already talked with your supervisor, you've come up with some solutions. And then maybe let's say you go along and you realize that some of the solutions aren't working out, then maybe you need to revisit this with your supervisor. So determine when you need to revisit concerns with your supervisor. Okay, so that's either you're deciding to stay or you're deciding to go. If you're deciding to go, if you chose to quit or resign from a job, it is important to have another job lined up before you are hired. So it's definitely, you don't want to quit a job if you need that income without having one ready to go, backup job. When you apply and are interviewing for another job, be sure to explain your situation of why you want to leave your current job. Maybe there's a lot of things like you want more hours, you want full time, and maybe that's why you need to explain, like, I want a job that's full time, not part time. Explain the steps you have taken to try to resolve your current work problems. So, for example, if you've talked to your supervisor and said, hey, I want to, okay, so, I know we were talking about deciding to go. I had to fix this slide. Sorry, guys. So, explain the steps you have taken to try to solve your current work problems. So, did you go to your supervisor? You told your supervisor that you wanted more hours. He or she would keep an eye out for more hours or a different position that was full time, that type of thing. Did you have an issue with a coworker? Did you tell your supervisor that this coworker and you do not get along? Did the supervisor call you two in, clear the air, settle things, squash it, and then move on? Like what was it? Okay, so just when you're in these interviews for a new job, you definitely want to tell them and go through this process. You want to be honest. Again, you don't have to like tell them every nitty gritty detail, but you need to tell them what's going on. Once you have a new job, put in your 2 weeks notice. So once you have a job lined up and you're going to quit, then you can go ahead and put in your resignation notice. So 2 weeks notice means you will give your current job time to find someone to fill your position. It demonstrates respect and keeps you from burning bridges. The last thing that you want to do if things aren't like terribly terribly wrong and you can still salvage a relationship with your employer going forward, that's always good. Again, like kind of like getting fired, you don't want to hold a grudge and all of that. You just want to move forward. Like sometimes there's certain jobs that just you use them as a stepping stone onto the next best thing. So Not every job that you have to have your entire life. So every job has its purpose to teach you things and to move on into the next level or next job that you may have. And that's okay. But we also want to remember that if it was something that wasn't completely terrible, it was more of like you want better pay, you want to expand on your experience. You definitely want to keep that employer on your good side because you can use them as references down the road. So the 2 weeks notice just gives your employer time. So that is when you fill out a resignation letter. So here's kind of just a generic example of what you can write to your employer when quitting and resigning. Most often, if not always, employers want you to have this in writing. So you will need to type up a letter. So you'd put your name, your street address, your city, state, zip code, and the date. This is just like a formal letter, and that's why you do all that. You put your supervisor's name, your company name, your street address, your city, state, zip code, and then you say, "Dear supervisor," put their name. This letter is to notify you on my resignation. My last day at the company name, whatever company it will be day and date. I would be happy to meet with you for an exit interview. I wish the company and all its employees much success in the coming year. Sincerely, your name. So often not often, I don't know how often it is really because I haven't really quit too many jobs, but sometimes they'll want to have a exit interview with you, which just means like they get with you and say, why did you quit? What was going on? But sometimes they just accept that and they move on. So it just depends on the company. So we're going to practice writing a resignation letter just because I think it's important that you guys have this knowledge that yes, you can leave a job by getting fired, but also like it can be your choice. Like it can be a decision that you want something better or you don't feel happy at this job. You don't like what you're doing. All of those things. So it's really important in your quality of life to make sure that you're doing a job that, I mean, not every job is going to be happy all the time, but that you enjoy for most of the time. Like it's something that you like to do, or you at least don't mind doing that job to get paid. So if you're miserable, that's not a good way to live. So now let's answer some questions. You have 3 more questions to answer. Question 1, if you have decided to stay at your job, it is important for you to blank. See if your work conditions improve. Determine when you need to revisit concerns with your supervisor. Determine what concerns are deal breakers, all of the above. Question 2, if you decide, this is true or false, if you decide to leave your job, you will want to put in your 2 weeks notice, unless it's an urgent reason to quit. True or false? So if you decide you want to leave, you should put in your 2 weeks notice. True or false? Question 3, a resignation letter explains to your employer you are leaving your job position within a certain time. True or false? And then don't forget to submit the quiz. If you have any other questions, please feel free to let me know. And I'd be happy to help you with whatever I can. Well, this should be the last of the assignments this week. I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you here next week. All right, take care. Talk to you later.